Nov, brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. I'm Kendra.
I'm Dan.
And we're back after a while. Sorry, folks, it's been a while. I think the last time we were here was Duryea Day.
I'm thinking about that and something like that.
It's been kind of crazy
around
here. We're trying to get back to normal and all that, as normal as we can get.
Yeah.
So we had a great Duryea Day. Thanks to all of you if you came, if you tuned in. It was really one of our better days as far as number of cars. And then we followed that up with a really great diner day in the beginning of this month in November. We had over 300 people here. So if you were here for diner day, thank you. It was awesome. That was one of the better ones that we've had, I think, attendance-wise. So.
Yeah. Yep.
It's all been good. So now we're going to try to calm down now a little for the holidays. But we got some new stuff here for you tonight. And I don't really have too much event-wise coming up right now. But please, keep a watch on our website, which is www.boyertownmuseum.org. Or if you are on Facebook, you can find the museum on Facebook as well. That gets updated almost daily. And that's a great way, either of those ways, to keep an eye on our events that are coming up. So we really don't have too much until the new year, 2020. We'll do another Fastnacht Day at the end of February, and we'll have Hoods Up again here in March of 2020. So that'll be fun.
So that's the next Hoods Up is March.
Yep.
Because you were asking me about something with that.
I was. We're going to try to schedule something a little special for the March Hoods Up. So stay tuned, and as we get our details hammered out, we'll post all that, and we hope to see you there. As far as the holidays coming up, because we're getting into that time of year, the Boyertown Museum is open 7 days a week, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are closed major holidays, so that means we're closed Thanksgiving Day, but we'll be open the next day on Friday and that whole weekend. So that's a great time to come out here with family. We'll see a lot of people usually those days. And then coming up to Christmas, just so you know, we're closed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But those days in between, we are open. Again, a great time to bring the family out. If you've got people visiting or you're just starting to get a little cabin fever there with everybody at home, we're open. So it's a great time to come visit us. We'd love to see you. And we're here at 85 South Walnut Street. If you want to contact us and get more information on any of that, feel free to do so. 610-367-2090, or you can send us an email, mail, M-A-I-L, at boyertownmuseum.org, and we'll help you out as best we can. So that's kind of what we got going on here. We do have a new exhibit that's on display here. It just came in last week. If you were here over the summer or in the beginning of the fall, we had our camping exhibit out. We had the museum's own 1966 Ford Tour Wagon, which was a recreational vehicle that they built here at the Body Works, and that was on display in the lobby. That has all been moved out, although the Tour Wagon is still on display. We did move it into the main museum. We weren't ready to say goodbye to it and put it back in storage.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites. So the Tour Wagon's out on display. But right now in the lobby, we have a special members showcase. So we have a kind of variety here of about 7 vehicles. They're in the lobby. They're also out by the Sunoco station here of cars that belong to our museum members. And I think you'll find some really neat stuff if you come visit us.
And, eclectic.
Yes. Yep. None of them. Well, there is one with a Pennsylvania-built connection.
Okay.
But everything else is kind of outside our regular, realm of what we do. So it's a little different, and hopefully you'll find time to come see that. And they'll be here till about the first week in March. So come see us this winter and check out these really, really cool cars. And that's pretty much what's going on.
Okay, I've been chomping at the bit to start
has.
my thing.
I know.
However, you were given sort of like announcements of different things and that sort of stuff. I noticed just outside the diner here is like a sled or something.
Yes, yes.
And what would that be for? He asked inquisitively.
He asked. So outside the diner, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, you know, on the camera or not, but we have our Christmas tree out, and now we're filming this, it's November 18th. Now that's a little early for me personally to have a Christmas tree out, but
Never too early.
we have a reason for that, and that is because we are an official Toys for Tots drop-off location, and that started, I think, actually the day of Diner Day is when Toys for Tots kicked off, which is early November.
I didn't even know that.
So from now until I believe it's December 9th, please bring a new unwrapped toy, drop it off in one of our boxes, and that also does entitle you to a little gift shop discount. Where we have some wonderful new things in the gift shop, don't we, Dan?
Yes.
Where'd it go? Here it is.
There it is.
So we just got these in. These are our 2020 wall calendars.
2020.
And this year, we've done these a couple years now, but this year we did something a little different, which is we went into our archives and we pulled out some truck body photos. So these are all trucks that were built here at the Body Works. There's just really cool trucks in here. This was fun to put together. So this is for sale in our gift shop now. You can get a discount on that if you bring in a toy. But we've also got diner t-shirts. We got more of those in. If you need a Fagley's t-shirt, we've of course got the Fagley's mugs. And we've got a new shipment too of the black museum t-shirts, which are really neat. They've got one of our STVs on the back.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So we got more of them. Good.
Yeah. So come on in and get a calendar and bring a toy for Toys for Tots. We'd like to see you.
Yeah.
So nice.
Okay.
Nice. I worked that. Worked
Am
well. Thank you.
Am I on now?
Okay, fine. Now I'm done,
Okay.
and now you can talk
Okay,
about.
you can push that so I know where we
Oh,
are.
okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
good. I'm gonna read a quote from a magazine, Motor Age of January of 1917. Okay, New York Show Accessory Corner is the name of the article. But anyway, it says something in accessories which is attracting unusual attention at the show, principally because of its total newness to everything or to anything offered heretofore, is the Hamilton Motometer. Okay, maybe it's not motometer, it's multometer, excuse me. Some of you high-class electricians out there are familiar with multimeter, okay, but this is a multometer, okay? So the spelling is a little different, it has an O instead of an I in the middle. And you're looking at the first picture there, and you can see there's a Hamilton multometer, an overwhelming success at the New York show. And let me read you a quote, and I believe that's, yes, out of that same advertisement. Literally, thousands turned away from the New York show, or turned away at the New York show. We could not accommodate them all. Purchasers literally fought their way into the exhibit of the Hamilton Motometer, literally pleaded for delivery, offered every kind of inducement they could offer to persuade us to put them down for a definite date when we could satisfy their demand. And even the thousands who had to be turned away went away enthusiastic over the Hamilton Multometer. Wow. That's some advertising.
Cutthroat.
Yeah,
there at the New York
I thought that was
show.
Pretty interesting. Woo. So you're looking at the multometer there. It's a device you would have on your car, 1917, aftermarket thing. And a little bit of history here. It was made by the Hamilton Corporation out of Lancaster, PA, okay, that made the Hamilton watches. You know what the Hamilton watches were called? You know their little phrase? You were involved with
I'm
that
gonna,
watch
I'm
stuff
gonna,
over
I'm
there.
gonna kick myself because I know it. It's in my brain somewhere, but.
The Railroad Timekeeper of America. There you go.
They're very exacting.
And you figure in 1917, railroads were the thing. So there you go. So the Hamilton multometer was called a recording instrument of scientific accuracy. So that's some pretty good stuff. And you know, you hear that and it's like, boy, you know, I want to go see this thing at the New York Auto Show.
Yes.
But I don't think it's there anymore. No.
No, Hamilton's not
Okay,
there anymore.
so if you could, you show the next picture, you're going to see a close-up of that, and it's pretty much the meter. It's just this round thing you'd put on the dash of your car. It ran off of a cable that was very much like a speedometer cable, which would be hooked up to like a sprocket on your front wheel. Unless it was a truck, these were adaptable to trucks, but then they would put them on the drive shaft because the truck kind of bounces around a lot more than cars. So that was a little inside thing. Anyway, with this, you could have an accurate determination of mileage, gasoline and oil consumption, and also the speed. If you look on the left side, you'll see a big number 30, no, you see a 15 on there. That's a speedometer. If you look in the center of it, there's 4 small squares. And then right next to it says tire number 4. Those 4 small squares were one of 13 odometers inside of this thing.
Wow.
And if you could look at the next picture, it shows the odometers there, and let me tell you what they are for. Is you got the speed, actually that's not an odometer, that's just a speedometer. But then you have the trip mileage, you got total mileage, you got warning at each 500 miles for pre-arranged adjustments, warning at each 1,000 miles, gasoline mileage for a trip or a season, oil consumption, tire mileage for each tire plus 2 extra spare tires. So you got all these, and you look on the outside of this, and there's that outside rim on it. You turn it, and if I don't know if you can see this on your TV, but all those things I mentioned earlier, gasoline, oil, tire number 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. You could turn it to that, and let's say you want to know the mileage on tire number 2. So you would turn it to tire number 2, which when you put that tire on, you had that set at 0. So that you can take. Yeah, and so you can do that. Now, if you look to the right of that whole dial, you'll see 2 smaller knobs there. And I'm trying to think what they're for. Okay, the left knob engages or disengages any particular odometer, and the right knob is the reset for the numbers. And I'm going to kind of go here and...
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
It's quite a contraption.
Yeah, there's the odometer, the inside of it, and we have a small picture here. You have it bigger on your screen. But it's quite complicated there. I don't know exactly how things work. I read things, but it's kind of brief, and it's kind of complicated. But so you could do that, and there was an example there, and they talked about changing tires. And let's say tire number 3 was on your car, and when you put it on, you put it at 0, and it runs, I don't know, 2,000 miles. It goes flat or something. So take it off, you put your spare tire on it. Now you change that dial to look at spare tire number 1, and of course it was already reset at 0, so now you can figure out that, and you keep going on and on. And so that was pretty much what was going on then. I bet you it was for auto or trucks. It was lockable. Again, you're not looking at this on your screen at the moment, but those 2 little knobs on the right, there's a little keyhole above one of them, and there's where the lockable thing. If you wanted to buy it, $60, okay?
Wait, what year?
1917.
That's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap, but
Wow.
it's the recording instrument of scientific accuracy. And
that
it's
was a little
made-
hasty of me.
It's made by the Railroad Timekeeper of America. So that's worth $60. And Hamilton watches were kind of a
Big
high-class
deal.
thing, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was looking online. I was hoping, wouldn't it be cool to find one of these on eBay at $20? No. But, you know, I didn't find anything pertaining to this when I looked up Hamilton watches. But, you know, just looking at all the watches for sale, and yeah, there was a lot, and it was not cheap. So, so $60 said furnished at a price which, when considered in connection with the service rendered, makes it the lowest cost accessory you can put on your car. So there you go, for $60.
Okay, so yeah, for all that it does, proportionally, they're telling me it's cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it was tested
Yeah.
for accuracy and approved by leading experts. Okay, this is out of an advertisement. The Hamilton Motometer is strongly built, not a delicate instrument easily put out of adjustment. It's thoroughly tested and tried out under conditions so arduous that they can never be met. Yeah, that they can never be met in the operation of an automobile. AAA, American Automobile Association, they had something to do with, we'll say, certifying it, for lack of a better word. This was tested by the same instruments as used by the U.S. Government Bureau of Standards. So, I have a feeling.
Standards? The Bureau of Fine Standards?
Yeah, you know, I'm wondering though. Now, today, the Department of Standards probably does this for everything nowadays. But in 1917, did they really? They might have been involved with everything back then too. I don't know. So.
That sounds like one of those things, and I honestly don't know. It sounds like one of those things that was started during like World War I to make sure.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, it could be. Sounds like a research thing.
Sounds like my homework.
Your homework, yes.
Yes.
That's even better. I was thinking me. But it was examined by a majority of leading automotive engineers of the country. Received practically universal commendation. That's from the Washington Post.
Wow.
So we're going big time with this.
That's right.
Okay, so that leaves the question, where are they now? Okay, now I wrote here, I've never seen a device that was an overwhelming success at the New York show. Okay, I quoted that there.
Yes.
And I'll continue quoting here. That was demanded by manufacturers, pleaded for by distributors and dealers, insisted on by thousands of car owners. Now, as
There were
Interesting.
literally fights going on.
yeah, well, where are they?
Yeah.
Where are all these things? And it's really interesting. So this is all from 1917, and then I think it was Saturday night. I'm kind of like getting all my notes together, and making sure everything's good here, and I come across some other stuff about the multimeter, and this is frustrating because you think you
You're
found
done.
everything.
Yep.
I'm done, and I go,
Nope.
where did this come from? First of all, there's a Hamilton truck-o-meter. And I'm thinking, but that's all. I just saw that phrase somewhere, not explaining what it is. Now, I said earlier these multimeters were available for trucks or cars. I'm thinking,
so why do they need a
is
truck
this
one?
truck-o-meter the same thing, but the sprocket connections are different for a truck? Who knows? I don't know, because I didn't find anything out. And then, again, I said, all this information I found was from 1917. 1921, I saw a little thing, and it was from something from Michigan. And it says, the Multimeter Corporation, Philadelphia, in which several Michigan men are interested, has been reorganized. The corporation makes a variety of accessories such as speedometers, multimeters, lubrication indicators, tire valves, truck meters, clocks, etc. So I thought, okay, where's this? And so I immediately tried to find more information, found nothing. But it almost sounds like maybe Hamilton started this and sold that to a different company out of Philadelphia, and they were making it in Philly, and 4 years later, they were kind of bankrupt. Well, it said reorganized, and now they're trying to unload it. So
yeah,
it
I feel like reorganized is a code word for bankrupt.
Yeah, so it kind of makes it sound, although this was an overwhelming success, I mean, there's a lot of neat things people get excited about. There's like, well, I'm not going to spend my money on this.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that's sort of where it went. So if any viewers have multimeters, sitting on a shelf, get a hold of Kendra.
Yeah,
She'll be happy to hear about it.
I want to see one.
And,
well, when you had said about Hamilton a while ago, because he says I was into the watch thing. I did work at the Watch and Clock Museum where they have a lot of Hamilton stuff because it's in Columbia, PA, so close to here.
Suburb of Lancaster.
I don't think we had any multimeters.
No, I went on
collection.
I went on their site.
Did you?
Yeah, the Watch Museum, and I went all over the place and typed this in.
Yeah.
And, I guess it's not a watch, so they don't care. But I don't know.
I mean, they have a section of car clocks, and we've talked about that before, the holders on the steering wheels. Yeah, this isn't technically a clock, but it's by Hamilton, and there's a lot of Hamilton stuff there, but I don't remember seeing this.
Speaking of that museum, I know this is a little an aside. I think, did I say that right?
Yes.
Several years ago, maybe 10 now, they actually had a special exhibit of auto clocks in there.
Yes,
and
I think they still do.
If there was one,
it would be in there, in that special spot.
There's probably a multimeter collector out there. It's probably a club for them.
You're watching, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna
So anyway, dial 610 367 2090. 2090, yeah. And ask for Kendra. So,
well, I'm curious. I want to see them. Maybe they all got melted down.
Yeah. I was hoping I'd see at least a photograph of it. I mean, these advertisements, they show pretty good, but...
it's always neat to see it for real, though.
And then I saw some pictures. It's like line diagrams or line drawings of that, which is kind of the same thing, but not as much detail. So, okay.
Very cool.
That's it.
A little trip down memory lane.
Trip down memory lane, yeah.
I think now we're going to take a little trip outside the diner briefly.
Ooh.
And go check something out.
Okay.
In our hallway.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll work out with the
ready.
camera. We're going to test it out. So we're here in our new exit hallway. I don't think we've been in here yet for this show.
No.
How old is this? About a year, maybe?
Maybe.
So we put in this exit hallway. If you haven't been in the museum in a while, when you kind of go beyond the diner a little bit, and you'll see this lovely, clean, bright hallway, which takes you back out to the lobby. Before you had to go out the same door you came in with the lobby, and now you can exit out this way. We have some showcases in here, and different small items in here, but this bridge model found a home here as well. So this was in storage for, decades. Sound about right?
I don't think quite that long.
It was a long time.
I remember it being on display.
Oh, was it?
10 years ago. 12, 15.
So this was in another building. It used to be the old museum up over on Warwick Street, if you were here a really long time ago. So this was sitting over there. It doesn't really have an official home because we don't really know who owns it. But it's here. And we had some volunteers clean it up, and we brought it over. And I figured I'd just give a short little history on what this bridge is showing us. This is a covered bridge. Now you'll see it looks like it's an unfinished covered bridge. That's because
It's only half covered.
it's only half covered.
Sorry.
It's true. The side facing the wall is finished. It's got the roof on and the sides. The side facing out is showing all the structure underneath. So to us, that's the cool side. So that's the side we have facing out to people. So this is modeled on an actual covered bridge. This is the Cutz's Mill covered bridge, and it really does exist. It's in the northern part of Berks County. It's very close to Crystal Cave.
And it's there now.
It's still there.
The
Yep.
real deal.
Yep. It spans the, oh boy, Saconee Creek. I'm going to say that wrong, and I'll get some angry letters, but that's okay.
That's right.
Oh, thank you. So
Creek.
it was
Instead
built.
of crick?
Crick?
Okay.
Don't get me started on that. It was built in 1854. And of the 5 remaining covered bridges in Berks County, this is the shortest one. It's 90 feet from abutment to abutment, and it's 16 feet wide, and it's 11-foot height clearance. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. It's 11-foot height clearance. And in 1854, it was built by Jacob Ahrens and his son, Jonathan Bittner. I'm not sure why he has a different last name. But anyway, that's what I read. This is one of 2 that they built in 1854. And it uses what they call the Theodore Burr type truss. So it's an arch, and it's got a series of diagonal and upright posts for support. Now,
I've heard of that Burr type thing, and I was thinking, without knowing you were going to say this, that was
this
that
long
arc
arch
on it.
that spans
okay.
the whole thing. That's why this is so cool, because you can see, you know,
And the thing is,
frame.
if you go to a covered bridge, you know, you're probably just driving through it or something, or even if you're walking, it's usually pretty dim inside.
They
you can't
get
see.
dark. Yeah.
So all you covered bridge people have to come here and look.
That's right. And even this one, I imagine, the real one, it is shorter, so I would think it's probably a little easier to see in there, you know. But the catch is it's on private property.
Oh.
So you can't drive or walk through this one as you wish, which is actually too bad, because you could probably see a lot of cool stuff in there. It's called Cutz's Mill Bridge because there's a mill right next to it, where at the one starting point, and that is Cutz's Mill. That mill does not operate anymore, but the building does still exist, and I have a photo here of that bridge and the mill in the foreground, and then there's another one looking at it from the other side of the creek. Not to me. I love old stone buildings like that. It's a really nice looking building. You can kind of see that's why they call it that, because it's right there. It's its neighbor. I have another photo here. This is a photo from 1941. You can see the mill there in the background as well. That's what it looked like in 41. Those other 2 photos were more recent. So it went through a couple of renovations or fixes along the years. In 1910, they put in a new plank flooring, also new wood sideboards. In 1913, the tin roof was painted. But, despite all this, the bridge was really becoming very weak. And a campaign sort of started about 1958. People started clamoring to kind of save this bridge because they saw that it was just not doing well. So the county had their own engineers assess it. They determined it's in pretty good shape, except for the floor, which of course is a pretty important part of a bridge. So even replacing it with new wood, which they discussed, wouldn't really have made it much stronger. So what they did was they preserved kind of the shell, so like the sides and the roof and everything, and they put in steel I-beams, but they hid them, and then they put in concrete over top of that. So it's been reinforced. So it's not considered. It's considered modified and original at the same time. But you know, I said earlier it has an 11-foot height clearance. Well, they keep lowering that because even though the sign said 11 foot, you know, of course the guy with the 11-foot 5-inch tall vehicle thinks he can fit through there, and it was still getting damaged. So they keep lowering the clearance sign on it, and it in 2017 it was the most recent, and it says 8'3", which it's not. But well, and you know, we're near here at the museum. We're near another covered bridge in Pleasantville, which I feel like every other year there's a story about how someone with a too tall truck went through it and damaged it, and it has to get fixed. And so that's the Cutz's Mill strategy for avoiding that, is to make the clearance a lot lower than it really is. Now, this model, I said we didn't really know its home. We think it belongs to the Berks History Center or the Berks Historical Society, but paperwork is pretty sparse on this. But what we do know is who built it, and it was built by a J. Edgar Hilgendorf. Now, if you look if you look inside this little covered bridge, you will see on the one end, inside of it, is a little election poster to elect J. Edgar Hilgendorf. And he actually was an elected official. He was the Berks County Recorder of Deeds from 1964 to 1980. And he built this bridge model, and actually his daughter, Linda Frey, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, she was the Recorder of Deeds after he left office until 1996.
Wow.
So that's why there's a little election poster. It's kind of like his signature.
Yeah.
So people have asked, why is there a poster in there? Well, that's why. That's the man who built it. So that is our covered bridge model, and we hope that you come see it. It's neat to be able to see the guts of it. So.
Now I have a question. There's a vehicle in there.
There's a vehicle in there.
Is there a story about that?
No,
Just
other
a neat
than
vehicle.
we just thought it would be neat to put something in there. And we had another model in mind, like of a Model T, but it was too tiny. I don't even know if that's to scale, but it's better than the Model T that was in there earlier. So, yeah, just to liven it up a little.
And it's like a fire engine.
Or like a La France kind of a thing.
Which is interesting because the reason we don't have these covered bridges is most of them burned
All
up.
of the burnt. He's preemptive. You know, he's preempting the fire. He's good. So, yeah, that's our covered bridge.
Okay.
And this is our hallway. So come here and see everything else in the hallway too.
And that's interesting. Is I don't come through here that often either, but there's a lot of little interesting things. It's like, you know, next to me is some decanters, I guess, right?
Yep, the whiskey decanters. We talked about those on the show once.
And you're looking at hood ornaments and stuff right now. There's a bunch over there. And there's also, I see a whole collection of spark plug boxes. And in behind us, there's even more stuff. And stuff all over the place in here.
Yeah, we have a little, we're trying to change this out a little bit. We're talking, right now we're actually on the other side of this wall.
Is outside.
Is outside. It's cold out there. But we're walking through what used to be the old paint base of the museum.
Right.
And so if you go outside, you'll see openings, and in some cases we still have the garage doors, the overhead doors, but not for much longer. Because just a few minutes before we came in here, we had workers wrapping up. We are rebuilding the old wood doors that 3-panel wood doors that would have opened up to allow the old trucks in.
To be honest, it's more of a facade though. That looks like
some of those doors remained. They had been painted white, and they were rotting because they're really old. But we got new ones to look like what they would have, and we have got one set done. So when you drive by the 3rd Street side of the museum, because it's going to look really cool.
Yep.
They look gorgeous out there. So that's where we are right now, and I don't know. We're gonna move back somewhere else in the museum, or
We could do
somewhere.
back in the diner.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll meet you back in the diner. You know, before we go on with the show, we were sitting here as we were getting ready talking about a tour we had this past weekend. They're fun.
They are.
We have neat tour groups come through here. So if you are in a car club or a church group or something, and you're looking for a tour, call us, and we'd love to have you. You might be lucky enough to get Dan or me to do your tour.
Yeah.
I say lucky.
And you know, and I was talking after our tour that I gave this past Saturday. I was talking to another volunteer who does a tour group, and we were like kind of comparing notes, and you know, it's neat to. I think the people giving a tour, such as Kendra and I, we probably walk away from it educated because these people always have things to tell us. Maybe not about our vehicles, but about, you know, stamp collection or Uncle Fred had or something.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting, and it gives you, yeah, they're happy to be here. We're happy to do it. So it's a win-win situation.
Exactly. So if you're looking for a tour for your group, call us and
if they want to eat too.
That's right.
Oh, we can arrange
we
that.
can arrange that. Yes. So
And if it's a small
please
group,
do.
they can eat in here. Am I right?
Yes. If
I
you're less
keep
than
telling people
if you're
that.
less than fewer than 40 people, you can eat in here.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh
I think I'll arrange a tour for myself.
yeah.
Just eat in here.
Tour of one.
Yeah. And I'll be the tour guide too.
Interesting conversations with an interesting person.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right, so on with the show, and as always, we like to know where the other one has been. So Dan, it's my turn to ask where
Yes.
you've been.
But we're gonna kind of co-do this.
We are.
But
'cause I'm
I'll tell you the introduction to it.
Yes.
A couple Saturdays ago, I was cruising up Route 322 beyond Harrisburg. I was going to a little town called Dauphin, Pennsylvania. It's right there in the river. To Bruce Larson's 22nd annual USA 1 Nostalgia Drag Fest. For
Wow.
those of you who don't know who Bruce Larson is, he's an old-time drag racer, and he has an open house drag fest up at his place in November of every year. And I went there, I kind of got there late, and some of the guys already left, in fact, more than I wanted to. But it was kind of neat because it's old-time dragsters. And
Cool.
he has, his place has an open house. He has a barn there with some of his old stuff in. However, when I got there was an auction going on. It's like a fundraising auction that he puts on. And you can hardly walk around in this barn to see all these little memorabilia things. But, you know, different people bring their old-time dragsters there and stuff. I saw some
That's
people
cool.
I've gotten to know through the museum was there.
Ah.
So, yeah, Terry
That's
was
cool.
there. Yeah,
Oh,
Terry, 55
yes.
Chevy Terry. Yep, saw him.
Ah.
And a few other people. So,
Motormouth alumnus.
huh?
Motormouth alumnus.
Oh,
Terry.
yes.
Yes.
Yep. And so anyway, I'm going up on 322 and on the East Shore, and I'm trying to think which way that is. It kind of goes at an angle, and it's 322 west, I guess that is. Is that west or north? You're moving northwest.
Yeah.
But I think the designation is west, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going up, and this is something I've seen plenty of times. In fact, I look for it every time I go up. And there's a Statue of Liberty sitting out in the middle of the river. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And the location is called the Dauphin Narrows. Dauphin is the name of that town, of course. And I went on Google Maps and looked at it. It's not really narrow. It's about the same size as the rest of the river, which is quite wide there. It's about a mile across.
Yeah.
But I noticed the river kind of makes a bend there, and so that must be what
The
makes
narrows.
it narrows. Yeah. And the Statue of Liberty, and why I'm talking, you're looking at pictures of this statue as it sits right now. It sits on a pier that was used for a railroad bridge. And it was the Northern Central Railroad Bridge. And it was between Dauphin and the town of Marysville. Now, a few months ago, I talked about another railroad bridge was
Yes.
along there, and the Rockville Bridge, which attaches between Rockville and Maryville, I believe, which is just 2-3 miles south of that. You see that too when you're driving along. And anyway, that bridge was built in 1858, and the bridge was demolished in 1903. But
That's the same year as this covered bridge we talked about.
Whoa.
Oh, wait.
Oh. Uh-oh.
It's close.
Close, okay. So it was demolished in 1903. What?
1854.
1854 and 58, okay. Demolished in 1903, so that's 116 years ago, and the piers are still standing.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting. The railroad bridge was last used in 1882, so that's even further. I'm not going to do the math. It's 33.5 feet tall, 8.5 feet wide, 30 feet long. So you're familiar with this, right?
Oh, yes.
What do you know about it? It's the Statue of Liberty.
I actually looked it up a few years ago because I was always curious about it. And essentially, it started out as a prank.
Kind of, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, a semi-prank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not supposed to still be here. I don't
Right.
think they expected it
Right.
to still be standing in the middle of the river.
Yeah.
And their names escape me right now. But
It was in honor of the 100th anniversary of the real Statue of Liberty in New York.
right, because that's coming up on 125, and this is 25.
Yep.
Years old.
1886 or 1986 is when they did it.
Yep.
So it was done by a guy named Gene Stilp, S-T-I-L-P, which was a lawyer.
Sorry, I think that's funny.
Okay, but you're right. It was only supposed to be there for a short time. I think 8 weeks. I have written
And he
down
wasn't like a teenager. Like, he was an adult doing this.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, it's not like some teen.
Well, that's why I say it was sort of a prank.
Yeah.
Because it was a celebration of the 100th anniversary.
Uh-huh.
And but the prank part comes. You know where the prank part comes?
No.
Did it in the middle of the night. And so the people woke up the next morning, there's the Statue of Liberty sitting out in the river. And they said, I read that, there was, the traffic was backed up and people taking pictures and everything else.
What is that? Yeah. It's a sleepy area of the state. I mean, that's a decent-sized highway, but it's not like there's a lot of people living right there.
Now, when I went up there 2 weeks ago, that highway is like, I guess 2 lanes each direction, and you are flying up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real highway.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, 1986, I'm not sure how that highway was. Was it, 1 lane each direction? Was there a slower speed limit? I don't know. But now you're flying, and literally.
Yeah, it's hard to slow down and take a gander. Like I remember.
Take a gander?
Yeah.
1 gander. Okay. But anyway, the original one was 17.5 feet tall, and it was at 450 pounds. Now, the one they have there now is 25 feet tall, so it's bigger. So, and if you don't really just look over there, you won't even notice it out there.
Yeah.
And there are trees that are growing up between a highway and the edge of the river. Now, I went up there, and there's no leaves on the trees, and I am looking for it, so you can see it. And so I don't know how it was, the first version of it.
If you didn't know where it was, you could miss it.
Yeah.
Because we drove by there many times when I was a kid. And you had to, we were all looking out the window waiting for it,
And I'm sure your parents were saying, okay, be quiet, kids. You're all fighting in the back seat, you and your brothers, right?
No, we were pretty good, actually.
Okay,
we
just
were
your
well
brothers
behaved.
were fighting. Okay.
Yeah.
So the original version was made out of plywood and Venetian blinds. Now, I knew it was made out of Venetian blinds, but not until last night I knew why it was made out of Venetian
All right, now you got me. Why?
It was to cut down on wind resistance. And I'm thinking that makes sense. You know, you got the Venetian blinds. But you ever hear Venetian blinds and it's windy and they kind of make that sound, that rattling thing?
Man, it must be noisy out
but,
there. But
the Venetian blinds were collected from the neighborhood. I can just see them now. The crazy lawyers here wants our Venetian blinds.
Crazy old jeans out there.
Yeah. So anyway, it was made from plywood and Venetian blinds, and you know, and that's it. And they took it to the pier in a boat called a John, Jon. I'm not a boat person, and so it's just a flat bottom boat, and it was towed by another boat, another John boat, two of them. And it was July 2nd, 1986, in the middle of the night. Now, I don't know how they got it up on top of the pier at 450 pounds.
Yeah.
Again, that pier is over 30 feet high.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember some article when I looked at this, and it stuck with me ever since, that the one guy called himself like the safety monitor of this whole group. Like he somehow he was a friend of this guy's, and I guess he thought to himself, this has got trouble written all over it.
Yeah.
Like I got to step in and make sure they're safe.
But there was, it mentions what I read about it, and mentioned these different people who were involved. And it's like his dad was in there, and some other people, and the safety guy, and this and that. And, but it was pretty interesting.
Neat.
So it was supposed to be there 8 weeks.
Yep.
So you said temporarily. So this is 1986, but in 1992, which actually was 6 years later, was a storm with 80-mile-an-hour winds came and kind of ruined it. So those Venetian blinds just were not good for 80 miles an hour.
Venetian blinds won't hold up to that kind of abuse.
So they removed it, and but they figured it was such a landmark that a new one had to be created. So there they went again. So the same Gene Stilt created another one, but bigger.
But bigger
the
and
US,
better.
Yes, bigger and better. So how do you think they got enough money for it this time? They didn't go around collecting Venetian blinds anymore.
No. If he had done this today, I'd say he went on like GoFundMe or something.
Right.
What would you do back in the early 90s?
Well, they did have a fundraiser.
Yeah.
They sold T-shirts, mugs, paintings.
I would love to have one of those T-shirts.
I just thought that would be kind of neat.
Right. eBay. We're checking eBay for this.
I'm surprised I didn't even do that. Yeah. So the new one now, that's there now, is 25 feet tall, as I mentioned earlier. It weighs 4 tons.
Wow.
First one weighed 450 pounds.
Wow.
And we're wondering how they got it up there. So July 3rd, which was 1997, 11 years and 1 day from the first one.
The first one.
It was brought to the pier by helicopter.
It's leveled up
That
now.
made sense. But I read that they had to go through all sorts of permits and everything, and
it's harder when you're not doing it in secret, I guess.
Well, the thing is, they made it. I think they kind of put everything together in Harrisburg, and then there's some fort or something up there.
Yes, Fort Hunter is up there.
Thank you, and that's where it went, and then they flew it from Fort Hunter to here, and I don't know the distance or anything.
Not far. It's pretty close to Fort Hunter.
So anyway, so now that's 22 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of things online. You can look at pictures. You've been looking at some of the pictures. There is, I saw a video online from a, come on, what are they called now?
Like a drone?
Drone, thank you.
I know, I saw that too, and I wanted to watch it. I didn't yet.
Yeah, so you can go home, everybody go in. And, it's pretty neat. And, it's really cool, and it's bright white. If you're looking out there and you see these pictures here, that's pretty much how it looks. But you have to think also, and I'm looking at 6 pictures here, and 4 of them have dark backgrounds.
Yeah.
So obviously it's easy. But if you're driving along, it's kind of, you get the sky as your background there.
So this is gonna sound corny.
Okay.
When you told me you were doing this, I almost teared up. There's a lot of sentimental value with this statue and with me.
Okay.
So I grew up in this area, not too far away, and my mom's parents, my grandparents on that side, they live up in northern Clinton County.
Okay.
And we visited them a lot, despite the fact that it was a 3-hour drive, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. And then in the summer, altogether, probably spent about half my summer up there on their property up there. So my mom and dad were really good when we were kids about humoring us, which they had a couple different routes that they liked, that we used to go up there. And, they named them. Which route do you want to take today? This one was one of the routes, and we named it the Joker route because my mom used to call this the Statue of Liberty Joker because it's not the real one. So this was the Joker route. And it was one of my favorites because there's a couple of things along 1115 there as you go up the river that are just odd. Like small town, odd kind of things, which I like. And but for whatever reason, we called this route the Joker route. This is the thing that we named it after. So it's a lot of memories of going up there and, hanging out at Grandma and Grandpa's house and the car rides up, which we really didn't fight too much. I always enjoyed the car rides up. And I don't remember playing car games so much. As a kid, I remember we just looked at the scenery and we looked at stuff as we were passing it, and we always comment on it, and it could be really mundane, stupid stuff like, oh, that house is an ugly green color. Why didn't they paint it this color? We just talk about that kind of stuff. But then we'd note this kind of stuff too, the odd stuff, and that's how we named our routes. So this was the Joker route for us, and it just brought back a lot of happy memories. And it's funny that you say it was replaced when it was replaced, because I have driven by there in both times, and I don't really remember a huge difference between them. But also I was really little, too. In the first part, I probably didn't really notice. I think I do remember being gone the one time, and we were all like, that must have been during this transition, and we were like,
that was a big joke now.
What's going on? What happened to the Joker? And I don't know why we called it the Joker. We did. Yeah. That was what we called it.
So now the thing is, when I went up there, a week and a half ago, I noticed it was not all white.
Oh yes, you were saying.
And I'm thinking, okay, did vandals get in there? But no, I went on there and they painted the front gown pink in honor of breast cancer awareness. And I thought, that's kind of interesting. And it's going to be that way. It's only temporary, then it'll go back to white. But I thought that was kind of neat.
I have to say, I really don't remember seeing any vandalizing of it. I can't recall. And I feel like there's other piers in the river that don't have the Joker, the Statue of Liberty on it, and they are vandalized. Like you'll see paint on them or something. But this one seems to be left alone. People have the respect for it, I guess, to just leave it as it is. But
which I think is good.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just one of those weird things that you pass, and it's
not weird, interesting.
And it's nice memories for me. And the story behind it is cool. Like it makes it even cooler. So.
Now, real quick, I see we got a couple minutes here. You're talking about going to your grandparents, and you didn't play the car games and stuff. Going to my grandparents was probably an hour and a half trip or something. And we always played an alphabet game. So if you saw a word that started with the letter A, you would get it, and then B, C, D. Well, my dad, obviously, he's driving, he's watching everything. Well, there was a church, a Russian Orthodox church, about halfway. And they had a sign, and the first letter was X. And he'd always get it. We were like on G. And he was already...
He had to get that X in while he could.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I thought you were going to say it had like the Cyrillic alphabet, and he extra credit. He gets the Cyrillic letter.
So, yeah, I still can remember that. Can picture that in my mind. So anyway, so that's the Statue of Liberty in the middle of the Susquehanna story, and make sure you go up, especially next November when you're on your way to Bruce Larson's. So.
Yeah, I kind of want more info on that. That's interesting.
So, okay.
Yeah, like we say, and we had our annual dinner last month, and our guest was Maud Betty.
Oh yeah.
Who was on the show? I don't know, maybe 2 years ago now. And I think this is kind of something in her. I think she would appreciate too. And she said it here at the dinner when we were talking. Like, it's really rewarding to take the time and find the not chain stuff and the not you can see it anywhere stuff, like the mom and pop places and the little stories like that, because it makes everything more interesting. It makes your car trips more interesting. And this, you're not giving any money to anywhere.
Right.
Now if you go to like a little restaurant, mom and pop owned, or a hotel, you are patronizing them. This is just a landmark, but it's cool. I mean, and to me, it just triggers so many memories. So I was just tickled when you said you were going to talk about it. It just made me so happy. And even looking at some of the photos today, I started to tear up a little bit because, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to go on those car trips anymore, our family. And
oh, your family.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, but it's nice to relive the memory. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Just made my day. That's the end of our show. But to wrap up real quick, even though we don't have any kind of flashy events happening here for a little bit, you really should come and see our members exhibit car show, because we got some really neat stuff, including 2 different Studebakers, who, this is an interesting coincidence. The current owners, their grandparents bought the Studebakers new, so they've been in those families this whole time, and I think that's always cool. And there's just a neat group of stuff here, so come check it out, and we look forward to seeing you. And again, call us or visit our website for information on upcoming events, or just to be sure, because we are coming into the holidays when we are and are not open, but we're open a lot of the time, so come see us. It's a great time to get people out of the house and come visit the museum. So thank you, and thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
You did the lion's share tonight, so thank you. And we'll see you all next time.